All right, welcome to another It's a Tech Tip webinar. Today we are talking about the new Microsoft Education LTI integration into Schoology. So it's something that just came up a couple of weeks ago. Microsoft has allowed us to use the Microsoft Teams tools inside of Schoology without the need of Teams. We were having issues where Teams was being blocked by the district. Students were having difficulty accessing it. So Microsoft understood not our situation specifically, but that not all the institutions out there use Microsoft Teams as their learning management system. So they went ahead and embedded this system, their entire LTI system into Schoology and other learning management systems like Canvas and other places like that. So today, since we use Schoology in the district, we're going to be looking at the integration within Schoology. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you how this is done inside of Schoology. All right, here we go. All right, as we're looking at this is my sandbox. So this would be your course. This may be one course, or this may be 6 courses if you're in middle school or high school. So you'll have to do this for every course. Just be aware of that, but it only needs to be done once so that you can see how this is done. All right, so what's happened here is that there's a new LTI program over here on the left side, and it's called Microsoft Education. You probably remember seeing other programs here, and then underneath we had some Teams programs. Those are all gone now. The only ones that are left right now currently is the new Microsoft Education LTI. We've left Microsoft OneDrive, which you really don't need now that this is here. Microsoft Reflect, that's also in here. The only difference, and we'll talk about this, is that it can only work in one place, or at least it can only be saved to one place. You won't be able to see everything in 3 different places or 4, depending on how many ways there is to get to it. And the OneNote Class Notebook, that's also now in Microsoft Education. If you're using it from here, keep using it from here, because if you go to Microsoft Education, you'll have to start all over. So for next year, we will probably remove OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive Reflect, and Class Notebook, because everything will be inside of the new Microsoft Education LTI. So let me go ahead and click on that so we can get started. All right, the first time you come in here, you may have to sign in. So go ahead and sign in. All right, and then you'll need to set up your Microsoft Education environment for your students. So know that now with this new LTI experience, this new connection, you're going to be able to use the Learning Accelerators, which is Reading Progress, Reading Coach, Speaker Coach, Math Progress. All of those will be inside of here now. We won't be able to create meetings. That is turned off because our students do not have access to that. And you can create your digital notebooks, your OneNote Class Notebooks in here as well. And if you want to, you can read all about all this integration here, or how to use them at least. But for us, we're going to continue with the setup. All right. So on this next screen, we're looking at the applications that we want to make available to us and our students. So obviously you can turn these off or turn them on. We definitely recommend them on. So we have the OneDrive, the Class Notebook, the Microsoft Reflect, the Reading Coach, the assignments, which is where our learning accelerators will be held, like Reading Progress and Math Progress. And then Insights is rather new. It just came about. That is to see in the reports when your students submit an assignment, whether it's Reading Progress or Math Progress, you'll be able to see the reports like we used to, or like you can in Microsoft Teams. The 2 applications, Meetings and Teams, are currently disabled by the admin. So you and your students will not have access to Meetings and Teams inside of Schoology. If we're happy with all of that, we can click on Done. If we click on Notifications, just know that when there's new features and all that, you will see some emails about that. If you don't want that, you can turn that off. But it's always good to know what new stuff is coming. So that is your personal choice. I'm going to go back to general and I'm going to click done. That's and it's going to set it up. So let's take a look what it sets up. All right, it is ready. These are the first 5 options that you will see. I'm going to talk to you about the reading progress, the reading code. Well, not the reading coach, the math progress. Reading coach is actually in here, and the other learning accelerators you have access to. But let's start here. First up, off at the top, you have the eye for information. You can leave feedback. You have the refresh button, and you also have some settings under you. You can change the theme. You can always go back to your course settings and change any of this. And if you are done with your class or at the end of the school year, you can click advance. And if you leave the district, delete the course. But I wouldn't do that. It'll just remember these courses archived, but you have the option to come back here. All right, within here, you and your students will be able to access their OneDrive. So they are using, if you're storing your stuff in OneDrive, you click on it and you will start seeing your OneDrive. To get back, you're going to click on the app selector here or the waffle, and we'll click home. Next to that is reflect. Now, the reflect here and the reflect on the web, which is reflect.microsoft.com, and the reflect on Teams, and the Microsoft Reflect here are gonna be different in the sense that if you create in any other program and any other Reflect, whether it's on the standalone site, whether it's on Teams, whether it's here, they're not going to connect. You won't see them being reflected or being shown in your other ways to access Reflect. So you have to choose one. You're either going to do it here in the new LTI, or you're going to keep doing it here in the separate LTI, or you're going to go to the web at reflect.microsoft.com. So just be aware of that. But if you want to go ahead and transition, that's not a bad time to start. You can go ahead and click on reflect. And the first time you do this, obviously it's going to be empty. And you're probably wondering, but I have reflects already. I've done some of these check-ins. Again, they do not connect for right now. And that's something we've asked Microsoft about. Like, can you connect them, please? Because it's the same account. They're working on it. So just know that it's here. And you can create your new check-in and begin assigning that to your students. So when your students actually click on reflect, the screen looks completely different than what it is right here. So Microsoft Reflect, a great program to have your students check in to see how they're feeling, how they're doing. Great for SEL. If you don't know how to use Microsoft Reflect and you're curious, please be sure to contact your Instructional Technology Specialist. I'm going to go ahead and head back home. Next to that, over here on the right, we have Class Notebook. The same Class Notebook you have down here. OneNote Class Notebook, it's the same one, but they do not connect. When you start Class Notebook here, it's going to start you with a brand new notebook. So if you're already running a notebook, I would keep running it the same way you're doing it right now. But know that for next year, you'll be able to set up your new notebook right from here. And I can click set up, and it's going to show me what it's going to have. Obviously, the same stuff that same folders and collaboration you had before. You're going to click next. This is where you can change the names of these different sections, and you can add more sections to that if you want. If you're happy, you're going to create the notebook, and it's going to go ahead and get it ready for you. Obviously, something you want to do ahead of time, because as you can see, this takes a little while, and your class may get impatient knowing that you weren't ready. So make sure you do this ahead of time before you have to actually use this. The nice thing about any of this is that it is already taking into account your members. So if I go back over here, all of my members here are already part of the Microsoft Office integration. So whatever you create here, it's going to be with the Microsoft Education, not Office Education integration. So my notebook is ready. There's a nice view user guide, how to use it and how to contact support, but I can open that up. It's still going to open it up in the web, just like it did before. And then there's your notebook. And look, those are all my students already populated. I didn't have to do anything else because they were already part of my Schoology course. All right, I'm going to close that out. Click the waffle one more time and head back home. Next, underneath that is reading coach. Now, this is a personalized reading practice. This is not something you can assign, but this is something that your students can access. And you can access it too if you wanted to practice or at least see what's available. Okay. It may ask them to log in. It's their same EPISD email and password. If they've used it before, it should bring up passages. This one actually does connect to the coach.microsoft.com. If you left off anywhere, you can actually jump in. Okay, so right now it's temporarily disabled, but you can read a new passage if you want. So you can do that. And it's brought my history with me. So everything I've been doing is already there. My progress, all that stuff. Okay. All right, let me go back to home. Now, I'm not going to have any insights, but if I already had students create, once they start doing assignments and things like that, when I click on insights, there will be data right here, just like there used to be in Microsoft Teams. So you'll be able to see all the data from your students' activities, whatever those activities may be. Okay. All right. Now, to get to the learning accelerators, that's actually done within Schoology. So I'm going to go back to materials. And let's say I'm going to create a math progress. Okay. So let's call it the practice. In here, I'm going to add a math progress assignment. Math progress assignment, sorry. I'm going to go under add materials. I'll go on the right and scroll down to the M's for Microsoft Education. This is going to open up a completely different window in a different interface, which will allow me to add those learning accelerators. So I do have the option to add from OneDrive, to add assignments from existing, or I can even add a quiz from forums. But right now, I want to add a math progress. So here's my math progress. Notice there's also reading progress, speaker coach, and search progress. Those are our current learning accelerators. So I'm going to go to math progress. Again, this is something you want to do ahead of time because depending on the internet and all that great stuff, you're going to, this might take a while. So you want to get this ahead of time. So I'm going to choose a category. Let's say I'm doing numbers and operations. Let's say I'm doing addition and subtraction, and it's going to generate. I can do it, I can have it generate, so the AI will generate it, or I can go ahead and create my own by adding my own questions, all that stuff. Okay, but I want to generate, and I'm going to go ahead and generate, and it's going to come up with some problems here. Okay, and so depending on the difficulty, if I want to go ahead and say, oh, I want that one, definitely want this one, that one, I'll do that, I'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that'll be that because that's going to be enough there. And I'm going to click next over here. There we go. I don't know what was going on there. So I need to, so it's already gave me the right answer. So I just want to make sure 18 plus 66, 84. I can go through these, make sure that the one that's checked is the correct answer, right? And then I have some options here. I can have students show their work, which don't we want that in math? We want students to show their work. So because a vast majority of our students already have Chromebooks, or in the lower grades, they have iPads, they'll be able to do their work on paper. And then as part of the assignment, it's going to ask them to upload a picture of their work. So they can definitely do that. They can take a picture of it and upload it for you so you can not only check to see that they got the right answer, but then check to see the work that they did, or they got the wrong answer, and then you go see their work and you realize why they got the wrong answer. So you can have this be turned on. Student rating, if you want the students to give you a rating as to how hard or easy the question was, was, you can definitely do that. And then you can shuffle the order of the questions if you like, so everybody has a different question order. Okay. I click done and I have my assignment. Let's say this was week 15, math practice, addition and subtraction. I can give instructions. Please come answer the following addition and subtraction problems. Make sure to upload your work. Okay. I could have AI do all this great stuff for me. I can click add detail and it will do all that stuff for me. I can give it a due date. So let's say that's due tomorrow. 70 possible points. I'm going to click save. And now I have an assignment. And I'm going to go ahead and go over here to Schoology on the other side. And I'm going to log in as a student so I can show you what that looks like. All right. So here we have the student side. And I'm going to go to math. And there's the practice. And here's the new assignment. So when they click to open that assignment, here it is. All right. So now I have the student side here. They're doing some math, addition, subtraction practice. I'm going to have them go here. They're ready to start. They're not going to click turn in yet. They're going to go to math progress. And it's going to show the math progress here. Get started. And they're going to go ahead and answer these questions. And one of the things, so 11 plus 7 is 18, obviously. And so they'll be checking off these questions. That's 77. That is 14, no, 12, sorry. Okay, so they're going to be checking these questions, whether they get them right or wrong. And then one of the things they'll be able to do, and I'm just clicking to click, one of the things they'll need to do is actually turn in their work. So I already checked that off. So your work for this assignment must be completed. So remember to show your work. And so I have to attach my work. And so I'm able to upload. So I have to take a picture of this work and then I can upload from my OneDrive or from wherever, from the device, wherever you're doing this, wherever you have this saved. So let's say it's a picture of me. It's not, it would be a picture of the work that I did. Okay, and then I click done, and then I would turn in. All right, and then on the teacher side, when I go to open this, so there's my student who just turned it in right here, maybe later, right here. And I am able to see their answers. So they got that incorrect. So I can choose the number of points it's going to give them. So obviously 0, 10. So you get down to the bottom of their work, right? And so right now they have a 40, right? Because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rest of these they got wrong. Okay. And then you can see their student work. I can click on it and say, oh, that's number 4. That's why they got it wrong. That's why they got it right. So on and so forth. Then I can return and sync, or I can return for the revision. So if I think, you know what, this student does really well most of the time, something must have gone wrong. I'm going to give them another chance. I can return this for revision and they can do it again, or I can return and sync and it will sync their grade right to this. One thing I did not do, let me show you one thing I did not do. If you want to keep these grades within Schoology, for every assignment, you need to go to edit the assignment and you need to enable grading. If it doesn't have a category, you definitely want to add one, especially if you want to grade it. So let's call it math practice week 10 or whatever it is you wanted to call it and save the changes. Now, when you do that and you go to the grade book, you'll see what the student got for his grade. Okay, so he has a 40%, 40 out of 70. So this current grade is 57.4. And that's because um, that's the average right now. Okay. All right. So that's how to add a learning accelerator. You can do the same thing for the rest of these. Reading progress is one of those that is a very popular one in our elementaries and even for our foreign language teachers and students. So reading progress allows us to try and read fluently in over 50 languages. So it's not just English. So you can generate a passage. You can import one if you already have one from Word or PDF, or there is a browse the sample library. So if I go to browse the sample library, it now gives me the options to do passages in English or Spanish. Doesn't do anything else, but this was not an option before. And now I can find passages in English or Spanish, and I can select by category. If there's any passages, they will be here. So currently they don't have any kinder or first, but they do have second all the way through secondary, actually all the way through fifth for Spanish. For English, they have a lot more. But you could ask it to generate you a passage. So let's say you want a passage on the culture for age, you'd say your kids are first graders, 6 years old. You're going to go with the lowest, 100 words. But then you can choose whatever language you want. I'm going to keep it in English. The reason the English feature will allow you to, as they read more passages, your students, and there are some challenging words that have difficulty with, it'll keep a record of those challenging words, and you will actually start seeing a list here. And so if you wanted them to go practice some vocabulary that you had previously in other readings that you were using, then you can go ahead and click the words that are going to be showing up here to add them to the story it's going to generate. And so when I click generate, it's going to create, AI is going to create the story, and you can increase the complexity once or decrease the complexity once of the passage. It can only be down once, one step up or one step down, and then you would actually use the passage. So obviously this takes a while, so don't be doing this last minute because you may get stuck not being able to give your students an assignment. So there it is, it's talking about the kilts. And so I can either go up in my complexity, which makes it harder, or I can go down in my complexity, which will make it easier for our students. I'm going to go ahead and use this passage once it generates with a higher complexity. AI passages can take a little while. I'm going to go ahead and use it just the way it is. Notice I have the language and all that. I can come in here and edit if I wanted to change some of the words. I could edit the passage and change it up if I needed to. When you finish editing, you click check mark. These are your standard reading progresses settings to include reading coach, to include adding comprehension questions. If you select yes, you can actually have it generate your questions. Let's say you're going to have 3 questions from this passage. It's going to look over at the passage and it's going to generate 3 questions from this passage. Now, right here, this option is pretty neat because before you were only able to see the questions, but if you click here, you can allow students to see the questions next to the passage so they can actually search for the answers within the passage, okay? And so here it is. It gives you the question and it checks off the correct answer. And then it may give you a fill in the blank type deal, an open-ended question. And then it has a sample correct answer. If you wanted to change that, you can definitely do that. And so if you're happy with that, you're ready to go. I'm going to click the panel open again. The option to require video, that's up to you. You can say no, but the students can still turn it on if they want to. When you click next, it's the same as that math progress assignment. We have to give it a name, reading fluency practice week 10, and you fill in your instructions. And if you want to give it points, let's say it's out of 100, and whatever the fluency percentage is, you can use that as a point value. So I'm going to click save, It's going to create the passage for the student, and it will be inside. In this one, it's right here. I could have created it inside of my reading folder, my ELAR folder. So right here inside that practice folder, right there. Okay. All right. So that's how you create those. You can create the other two, which we are not going to get into. If you want to learn more about these learning accelerators, again, contact your instructional technology specialist and they can give you a lesson, an overview of these, all of these learning accelerators. So that is the new Microsoft for Education LTI program that is now embedded, and it actually replaces the other LTIs that were on here. For now, again, if you're using the standalones and you want to finish off the year like that, that's great. But next year, they'll probably be gone and you'll be able to use it directly from the Microsoft Education, the new LTI that we have inside of Schoology. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me go ahead and turn off the sharing here. And if you have any questions, again, contact your instructional technology specialist and they will be able to help you out. Enjoy your Thanksgiving break.